Hello and welcome to the Mastermind semi-finals with me, Joan Humphrys. In the spotlight tonight are Tom Gibson, a test engineer whose specialist subject is films based on the works of Stephen King. Laura Miles, a housekeeping manager who'll be answering questions on American state capitals. Peter Timms, an ecologist whose subject is the novels of Neil Gaiman. And Hazel Humphreys, system support manager, her specialist subject, Joan Rivers. And because this is a semi-final, it means that all four contenders can feel pretty pleased with themselves for having got through the heats. But that was then. This is now. The winner claims a place in the grand final, where the prospect of becoming Mastermind champion awaits them. As always, they face 2 minutes of questions on their specialist subject, 2.5 minutes on general knowledge. So let's get on with it and ask our first contender to join us, please. And your name is?
Tom Gibson.
Your occupation?
A test engineer.
And your chosen subject?
Films based on the works of Stephen King.
In 2 minutes, starting now, in The Shining, Wendy Torrance finds a box full of sheets of paper on which her husband Jack has repeatedly typed one sentence: all work and no play makes Jack a...
dull boy.
Yep, Arnie Cunningham buys a dilapidated car called Christine for $250. But once Arnie has restored the car to her former glory, she takes on a sinister life of her own. What make and model of car is Christine?
A 1958 Plymouth Fury.
Yes, in The Dead Zone, the school teacher Johnny Smith sets his English class a story to read shortly before he has a car accident that puts him in a coma for 5 years. What's the title of the story?
The Raven.
The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. In Firestarter, the Department of Scientific Intelligence, known informally as The Shop, injects Andy McGee and Vicky Tomlinson with an hallucinogenic drug. They subsequently marry and have a daughter, Charlie, who inherits their pyrokinetic powers. What's the name of the drug?
A1.
Lot 6. When the novelist Paul Sheldon resurrects his romantic heroine, Misery Chastain, his kidnapper, Annie Wilkes, says that she's so happy she'll play some records by her all-time favourite performer. Who was he?
Liberace.
Yeah. In Stand By Me, Gordy LaChance entertains his friends by telling them a story about a pie-eating contest in which an overweight boy gets his own back on his bullies by causing a mass barfarama. The boy's nickname is Lardas. What's his real name?
Jeffrey Howe.
David Hogan. In The Green Mile, John Coffey, a gentle giant imprisoned for murder, resurrects his fellow prisoner's pet mouse after it's been killed by a brutal prison guard. What's the mouse called?
Mr. Jingles.
Yeah. In the 2007 film The Mist, which actor plays Ollie Weeks, the assistant manager of the food house supermarket? The character helps a group of survivors before he's torn apart by a creature from another dimension.
Toby Jones?
Yeah. The Shawshank Redemption is narrated by a prison inmate called Red, played by Morgan Freeman. What's the name Red short for?
Alfred.
Redding. In Apt Pupil, Todd Bowden discovers that his elderly neighbour is a Nazi war criminal by dusting his letterbox for fingerprints and comparing them with a wanted sheet from the Israeli government. Todd claims he needs 8 good matches to identify him. How many does he find?
4.
14. No passes, Tom. You have 5 points. And our next contender, please. And your name is?
Laura Miles.
Your occupation?
Housekeeping manager.
And your chosen subject?
US state capitals.
US state capitals in 2 minutes. Here we go. The state capital of Louisiana was reputedly named by French settlers after a red cypress pole erected by Native Americans as a boundary marker between hunting grounds. Which city is this?
Baton Rouge.
Yeah. The state of Delaware includes the counties of Newcastle and Sussex. In which other county is its state capital Dover?
Kent.
Yep. In 1765, which future state capital was named after the successful conclusion of a long-running boundary dispute in which the Privy Council in England had been involved? The community had earlier been incorporated as Rumford in 1733.
Concord, New Hampshire.
Yes, a popular nickname for Boston, Massachusetts refers to a local dish developed in colonial times when the city was a stop on a major trade route with the West Indies and had a steady supply of molasses from the Caribbean. What nickname?
Beantown.
Yeah. Denver, Colorado was founded on Cherry Creek opposite the rival gold town of Auraria and was named after James Denver, the governor of the territory in which the city then stood. Which territory?
Pass.
What's the name of the state capital of the Susquehanna River that stands about halfway between New York City and Pittsburgh?
Harrisburg.
Yep. Jackson, the so-called city with soul, was named after Andrew Jackson, the future president of the United States, and became the state capital of Mississippi in 1822. It had previously been named after a trader of French descent in the late 18th century. What was the old name?
LaFleur's Bluff.
Yes, a major bridge in Austin, Texas, has become famous for the spectacular display at sunset of its colony of more than 1 million Mexican free-tailed bats that live underneath. Which bridge?
Pass.
Wyoming's capital, Cheyenne, named after the Cheyenne people, mainly developed after it was surveyed and chosen in 1867 by Major General Grenville Dodge as a supply depot for a major railroad being built at the time. Which railroad?
The Western Atlantic Railroad.
Union Pacific. Annapolis, Maryland is home to the U.S. Naval Academy, which houses the grave that's now a national shrine, dedicated to a naval hero from the American Revolution who was born near Kirkcudbright, Scotland in 1747. Who was he?
Pass.
Well, your time's up anyway, so I can tell you, John Paul Jones. 2 other passes. That famous bridge with all those Mexican free-tailed bats, that was the Congress Avenue Bridge. And James Denver, after whom the city of Denver was named, was the governor of Kansas. You have, Laura, 6 points. And our next contender, please. And your name is?
Peter Timms.
Your occupation?
Ecologist.
And your chosen subject?
The novels of Neil Gaiman.
Award-winning British author, beginning now. At the beginning of one of the novels, there's a caveat. Kids, bringing about Armageddon can be dangerous. Do not attempt it in your own home. Which novel?
Good Omens.
Yep. In Anansi Boys, Charles Nancy discovers that his father was the trickster god Anansi and that he has a brother. What's his brother's name?
Spider.
Yep, in the ocean at the end of the lane, a month after the narrator's 7th birthday, a South African man comes to stay at his house. What's the man's occupation?
Opal miner.
Yeah, in Stardust, Primus, Secundus and Septimus are 3 of the 7 sons of the 81st Lord of a citadel that's carved out of the peak of Mount Huon in the land of Faerie. What's the citadel called?
Stormhold.
Yeah, in Neverwhere, what's the title of the exhibition that's been organised at the British Museum by the businessman Richard Mayhew's ex-fiancée Jessica? It's sponsored by the media mogul Arnold Stockton's company.
Angels.
Almost. Angels over England. In Good Omens, it said that all cassette tapes left in a car for more than about a fortnight metamorphose into albums by a particular band, which the demon Crowley is listening to while he's doing 110 miles an hour somewhere east of Slough. What band?
Queen.
Yes. In the novel American Gods, the ex-convict known as Shadow first meets and has a fight with the almost 7-foot-tall Mad Sweeney in Jack's Crocodile Bar. Sweeney says he is what type of creature from folklore?
Leprechaun.
Yeah. In Stardust, what objects painted on the side outside the inn conjured up by the witch woman who also transforms 2 goats into the innkeeper Billy and his daughter?
Pass.
9 worlds are described in Gaiman's Norse mythology. What's the name of the world where the frost giants and the mountain giants wander and live and have their halls?
Jotunheim.
Yeah. The king of the giants in the book Norse mythology tricks Thor and his companions in a series of contests. He later reveals that the child Hugi, who beat Thjalfi at running, was actually something that no one can outrun. What was it?
Thought.
Yes. In Neverwhere, the angel Islington gives Dor and Richard glasses of a white wine that threw light around the caverns like sunlight on a swimming pool. The angel tells them that the wine came from a vineyard on what now lost island.
Atlantis.
Is correct. You had 1 pass, Peter. In Stardust, the object painted on the sign outside that inn was a chariot. You have scored, however, 9 points.
Thank you.
And our final contender, please. And your name is?
Hazel Humphreys.
Your occupation?
System Support Manager.
And your chosen subject?
Joan Rivers.
A great American comedian, actress, writer, known for her acerbic humour. Here we go. Joan Rivers was born Joan Alexandra Malinsky in Brooklyn in 1933. In the 50s, her family moved to a New York suburb where, she joked, she was the last remaining single girl. Which suburb?
Larchmond.
Yep. As she tried to break into show business, Rivers performed at some seedy clubs in Massachusetts billed as Pepper January, comedy with spice. What was the name of the agent who made the bookings and gave her this stage name?
Harry Brent.
Yeah. In 1961, Rivers joined an improvisational comedy troupe based in Chicago. It was there, she claimed, that she was really born as a comedian. Which comedy troupe?
Second City.
Yep, Rivers' career was transformed in 1965 when she appeared on a talk show hosted by Johnny Carson. She later became a regular guest host of the show. Which show was this?
The Tonight Show.
Yep, in the early 1970s, Rivers co-wrote a stage play in which she appeared as a feminist named Jill who has problems in her romantic life. It was a flop on Broadway and closed within days. Which play?
Funtown.
Fun City. Rivers was famous for her quips about people's looks. She said of herself, I wish I had a twin so I could know what I'd look like without plastic surgery. And I don't exercise. If God had wanted me to bend over, he'd have put what on the floor?
Diamonds.
Yes. In 1986, Rivers was given her own chat show on BBC Two entitled Joan Rivers, Can We Talk? It featured a British comedian as her co-host, but the show was poorly received, lasted only one series. Who was the comedian?
Peter Cook.
Yeah, Rivers featured in the cast of the 1987 comedy film Spaceballs and also an animated television series based on the film. For both, she supplied the voice of an android. What's the android's name?
Dot Matrix.
Yeah, in the mid-1990s, Rivers became the presenter of a talk show on a New York radio station, which she hosted for 5 years. What is the three-letter call sign of the radio station?
WOR.
Yep. In an interview for People magazine, Rivers managed to insult 3 American first ladies, one of whom she described as looking like E.T. without makeup. I use her as a great example of what women should do. Always marry for money, she said. Which first lady?
Barbara Bush.
Jackie Kennedy. Towards the end of her career, Rivers hosted a series for the television channel E that critiqued the dress sense of celebrities, especially when they appeared on the red carpet at award ceremonies. What was the title of the series?
Fashion Police.
Is correct. You had no passes. Hazel, you have 9 points. Well, pretty close at the end of the specialist round. Let's have a look at the scores. In 4th place with 5 points, Tom. 3rd place, 6 points, Laura. Joint 1st place, 9 points apiece, Peter and Hazel. So now it is the general knowledge round, and if there's a tie at the end of it, then the number of passes is taken into account, and the person with the fewer passes is the winner. And if they're tied on passes as well, then there has to be a tie break. So let's ask Tom to join us again, please. Right, you start out with 5 points, and you have 2.5 minutes for your general knowledge. Here we go. Nigella Bites, Nigella Express, and Simply Nigella are recipe books by a television cook. What's her surname?
Lawson.
Yep. Asian economies such as those of Hong Kong, Singapore and South Korea, which have experienced rapid growth and trade expansion, are often referred to by the name of a striped wild animal. What animal?
Tiger.
Yeah. The American composer George Gershwin often collaborated with his older brother, who provided lyrics for many of his songs. His brother, originally named Israel, was best known by what first name?
Ira.
Yeah. Which Conservative former cabinet minister gave his autobiography, first published in 2000, the title Life in the Jungle, a reference to his nickname Tarzan?
Michael Heseltine.
Yeah. Which member of the British royal family was granted the titles Earl of Strathern and Baron Carrickfergus together with a dukedom when he got married in 2011?
Prince William.
Yes, Duke of Cambridge. The abbreviation CNS is used in medicine to refer to the coordinating functions of the brain and the spinal cord. What do the letters CNS stand for?
Cortex neurology.
Central nervous system. The grouse shooting season in Britain traditionally begins in August. On which date?
1st of August.
12th. The manuscript for a novel published in 1766 is believed to have been sold by Samuel Johnson for £60 to allow the book's penniless author, Oliver Goldsmith, to pay his rent. The title of the novel is The Vicar of
Dibley.
Wakefield. The 2019 Nobel Prize in Chemistry was awarded for the development of a widely used type of battery named after ions of which metallic element?
Lithium.
Yes. Which American-sponsored radio station began broadcasting in 1950 to provide pro-Western information and commentary throughout the Eastern Bloc countries and the Soviet Union during the Cold War?
Vietnam Today.
Radio Free Europe. In a long-running BBC television series first shown in 1969, professional snooker players competed against each other in knockout matches of just a single frame. What was the title of the show?
Big Break.
Pot Black. Which actor won his first Oscar for his performance as a lawyer with the AIDS virus in the 1993 film Philadelphia?
Tom Hanks.
Yes. What term refers to a society of female students in an American university or college? Such societies normally use Greek letters as names.
Sorority.
Yeah. The Citroën company unveiled a car model at the Paris Motor Show in 1948 that would remain in continuous production until 1990. Which model?
Zoe.
2CV or 2CV. During the last few months of his life in 1890, a famous Dutch artist painted a portrait of his doctor, Paul Gachet. Which artist?
Vincent van Gogh.
Yes. No passes. Tom, you have 14 points. And next up, Laura, please. And you start out with 6 points. At the moment, Laura, 14 is the score to beat as we speak. Here we go. Which Roman god is typically depicted in art as a winged angelic child with a bow and arrow?
Cupid.
Yes. The American businessman Melville Bissell is best known for his invention, patented in 1876, of a household sweeper designed to clean what item of soft furnishing?
Carpet.
Yeah. In October 2019, the remains of a Spanish nationalist leader were exhumed from a mausoleum outside Madrid known as the Valley of the Fallen and reburied in a cemetery on the outskirts of the city. Which leader?
Franco.
Yeah. The title character of a 1924 opera by Janacek is a female fox named Sharpius. What's the usual English title of the opera?
Carmen.
The Cunning Little Vixen. What country occupies the eastern half of the Scandinavian peninsula?
Finland.
Sweden. Most nuclear reactors are of a type commonly known by the abbreviation PWR, in which the letter W stands for water and the R stands for reactor. What does the letter P stand for?
Power.
Pressurized. The title of a UK top 5 single for the Beautiful South in 1996 is also the name of a city in the Netherlands. Which city?
Rotterdam.
Yep. The savouries known as devils on horseback consist of prunes or plums wrapped in what meat product?
Bacon.
Yep. The first Prime Minister of India popularised the style of hip-length narrow jacket with a high stand-up collar that was later named after him. What is the style of jacket called?
Pass.
An Australian television personality and conservationist who rose to fame in 1992 as the presenter of The Crocodile Hunter was killed in 2006 when a stingray attacked him during filming near the Great Barrier Reef. What was his name?
Steve Irwin.
Yeah. Which German weekly news magazine was first published in 1947 and is known for its investigative journalism? Its name translates into English as The Mirror.
Das Bild.
Der Spiegel. Which ancient Roman fortification was built across central Scotland between the estuaries of the Forth and the Clyde in the 2nd century AD? It briefly replaced Hadrian's Wall as the northern boundary of Roman dominion in Britain.
Pass.
The Pulteney Bridge was designed by Robert Adam in the 18th century and is unusual in that it incorporates shops along its length. It spans the River Avon in which English city?
Bath.
Yes, the word for a coin-operated machine that plays music selected by the user is thought to be related to an American slang term for a roadhouse. What's the word for this machine?
Jukebox.
Yeah, the gardening expert who's presented the television series Gardener's World and Ground Force, among others, has also written many novels and a series of memoirs that include Trowel and Error, published in 2002, and When I Was a Nipper in 2010. What's his name?
Alan Titchmarsh.
It is indeed. 2 passes. That ancient Roman fortification built in the 2nd century AD was the Antonine Wall, and the jacket the Prime Minister of India wore was the Nehru jacket. You have, however, 15 points.
Thank you.
And now, Peter, again, please. And Peter, you start out with 9 points. Score to beat is 15, to be in with a chance to get through to the grand final. Here we go. A 3-legged stand used to support an item such as a camera or telescope is known by a name derived from Latin and Greek words for 3 and foot. What name?
Tripod.
Yep. 2006 book Humble Pie is an autobiography of a Scottish-born chef and restaurateur. What's his name?
Gordon Ramsay.
Yep. What post in American politics was first held by John Adams, who described it as the most insignificant office that ever the invention of man contrived or his imagination conceived?
Vice President.
Yeah. In 1980, Highgrove House in Gloucestershire became the private country home of which member of the British royal family?
Prince Charles?
Yeah. Which Asian capital city was awarded the right to host the 2022 Winter Olympic Games? It's previously hosted the Summer Olympics.
Beijing?
Yes. What name is given to the branch of chemistry that deals with carbon compounds?
Organic.
Yes. The vet and author Alf White, whose books were made into a popular television series, took his pen name from a former footballer who was a goalkeeper for Scotland and Birmingham City. What pen name?
James Herriot?
Yes. A rebellion on a slave ship off the coast of Cuba in 1839 led to important developments in the American abolitionist movement after the mutineers were tried and freed by the Supreme Court. What was the name of the ship?
Bounty.
Amistad. The original dance routines for the musical Chicago were devised by a choreographer known for signature moves such as his turned-in knees, rounded shoulders and finger clicks. He also choreographed and directed the 1972 film Cabaret. What was his name?
Pass.
What medical condition has many types that result in a reduction in the number or size of red blood cells or inhibit their ability to carry oxygen? Its name derives from the Greek for lack of blood.
Pass.
What term is used to describe a musical scale that consists of 5 notes, often without semitones? It's commonly used in folk music.
Octave.
Pentatonic. The Sumatran, the Bornean and the Tapanuli are the 3 species of a large primate native to parts of Malaysia and Indonesia. Which primate?
Orangutan?
Yep. A flexible lamp invented in the 1930s was commemorated in 2009 in a series of postage stamps that featured classic British designs. What's the proprietary name of the lamp?
The Hereford.
The Anglepoise. What's the name of the country house in Kent, which was bought by Winston and Clementine Churchill in 1922? It became a National Trust property in 46, but remained the Churchill's home until Winston's death in 1965.
Highclere.
Chartwell. What acronym is used to refer to the layout of keys on a standard UK keyboard? It's formed from the first 6 letters from the left on the top row of letter keys.
QWERTY.
QWERTY is correct. 2 passes, Peter. Anemia is that medical condition, the blood one. And Bob Fosse was the choreographer responsible for things like finger clicks. You have now, however, 18 points.
Thank you.
And finally, Hazel, please. And Hazel, you have 9 points. The score to beat now, if you are to get through to the grand final, is 18. Let's see if you can do it with your 2.5 minutes of general knowledge, starting now. What is the basic unit of currency of Canada?
Dollar.
Yep. Which former newspaper editor and talent show judge joined the presenting team of the television series Good Morning Britain, 2015?
Piers Morgan.
Yep. In the summer of 1966, groups of militant university and high school students known as the Red Guards were mobilized to enforce the Cultural Revolution. In which Asian country?
China.
Yep. A common formulation of one of 3 laws of motion proposed in the 17th century by an English scientist is F equals ma, where the letters stand for force, mass and acceleration. Which scientist?
Newton.
Yes. The name of a famous seaside neighborhood in New York State known for its amusement parks and extensive sand beach includes an old word for a rabbit. What's the name of this neighborhood?
Coney Island.
Yes. Which actress plays the title character in the 2019 film Captain Marvel? She'd previously won an Oscar for her role as a mother who's held captive with her young son in the 2015 film Room.
Pass.
In 1971 and 80, the women's singles title at Wimbledon was won by an Australian player. What's her name?
Yvonne Goolagong.
Yes, a variant of a chemical element with the same atomic number and chemical properties, but a different atomic mass, is known by a name derived from Greek words for equal and place. What name?
Isotope.
Yep. A celebrated photograph taken by Annie Leibovitz in New York in December 1980 depicts a man curled up naked with his fully clothed wife just hours before he was murdered. What was his name?
John Lennon.
Yep. A famous 1925 Soviet film directed by Eisenstein is about a mutiny by a group of sailors against their officers during the failed Russian Revolution of 1905. What's the title of the film?
The Battleship Potemkin.
Yep. Bigarade is a French word for a bitter variety of a certain fruit, as well as the name for a sauce made from this fruit, which is typically served with roast duck. What fruit?
Orange.
Yep. In 10-pin bowling, the highest possible score in a single game is achieved with 12 consecutive strikes. How many points does this score?
30.
300. A small town in North Wales, about halfway between Denbigh and Rhyl, was granted city status in 2012 as part of the Queen's Diamond Jubilee celebrations. Which town?
Wrexham.
St. Asaph, a stage musical adaptation of a 2001 film about a fashion student who enrolls at Harvard Law School, ran for 2 years in the West End from 2010 and starred Sheridan Smith in the lead role. What's the title of the musical?
Legally Blonde.
Yep, what word for a conundrum is also a term for a large coarse sieve used by gardeners to separate fine soil from small stones.
A riddle.
Yeah. And your time is up. But you have had enough time to do the necessary. You had 1 pass. Brie Larson played the title character in Captain Marvel. You have scored now, Hazel, 21 points. Clear winner, so let's have a look at the final scores. In 4th place with 14 points, Tom. 3rd place, 15 points, Laura. 2nd place, 18 points, Peter. 1st place, 21 points, Hazel. Which means that she goes through to the grand final. Congratulations to her. And if you would like to be a contender in the next series, do go to our website, bbc.co.uk/mastermind, and you can follow us at Mastermind Quiz. And do join us again next time for more Masterminds. And thanks for watching. Goodbye.
When I sat down in that black chair, I was in bits of nerves, as I was beforehand. My hands were sweating, my mouth had gone dry, and I just felt that I'd forgotten everything I'd ever known about anything. I chose Joan Rivers for my semi-final. I've been on Mastermind before, and every time I go on, I seem to like to rescue a dead comedian from the past. And I'd always done male comedians, and I thought it's time to actually choose a woman. And as she was a real trailblazer as well, too, she actually set the standard for women coming up in comedy now. I thought, yeah, give her a go. I thought all the semi-finalists were brilliant. I expected any one of them to win. To be honest, I'm absolutely gobsmacked to be standing here right now. It's actually my 4th time on Mastermind. I came 3rd in the heat, then 2nd in the heat, then I got through to the semi-final, got knocked out, so this time I'm through to the final, so it's quite a progress.
You have scored now, Hazel, 21 points.
The people in the final, they're going to be absolute brain boxers, serious quizzes. I'm still in a daze thinking that I'm a finalist on Mastermind. It's just amazing.